talking about some of the 9 verses, and we'll get those and put them in the show notes for people so they can look them up. But I'm thinking, obviously Luke 9:23, if any man does not deny himself, take up his cross daily and follow me. I mean, that's the definition of a disciple.
It is, but
he doesn't
again,
use the word. He doesn't use the word.
It doesn't use the word.
But then I'm thinking about, if you don't hate your father, hate mother. I mean, there are places where he says, these are the marks. So when you look at those, I mean, as you say, they're hard. They're not slamming, harsh, nasty, or mean, but it's a very high bar. In other words, somebody's got to be serious about this. How, in your experience, Joel, how serious do they need to be to begin the journey? And I'm not looking for an easy answer. I mean, if they got to be wall to wall sold out, fine. But you deal with this all the time.
And to be honest, I think the churches have done a bad job of discipling for 100 years now. I think especially it amplified in the 50s and 60s as we separated, as communities broke down, as the distances spread, as our lifestyles changed, all that. So we're dealing with a complicated situation here. But all I need to believe that I have someone that God has brought to me to be discipled is basically I've probably been praying for them or encounter them, and I ask them that question: who are you discipling? If I hear crickets, I said, would you like to, and if they show an interest in discipleship or talk to me, what do you mean by that? I said, well, why don't we just start a journey and go on it? I mean, I'm pretty much willing to ask almost anyone I meet first time if they're interested. If you don't know what it means and you want to know, let's go on a journey. Well, what will that take? Well, we'll need to start meeting an hour a week. Oh, I don't have that much time. Okay. The basic scripture where Jesus is talking about comes down to loving one another, new commandment, bear much fruit, thus proving to be my disciples, abide in my word, and the truth will set you free, and the cost of discipleship. And so if you get someone who says yes to Matthew 20:18 being a call to all Christians, all followers of Jesus, and they're really going to admit to, okay, what does the word say? What does the Bible say? And is it going to be involved in my heart? You go through those four places. The other 3 are all when he says, I must observe the Passover with my disciples, which I think is very important that that's mentioned 3 times. The power of having a Passover style meal, of having meal, sharing that aspect of your life with someone is very important to discipleship. Can you do it virtually? Yes, you can. Is it better in person? Yes. And I think over food and over that environment is a really strong time, whether it's coffee in the morning. I have a group I meet with on Wednesdays, or whether it's a meal or lunch or dinner or whatever. I think food's very important, that sharing that fellowship, breaking the bread.
I wonder how many of our listeners would think that. I mean, I if you'd have asked me, I wouldn't have gone there. I get it, and I agree with it, but I wouldn't have gone there. That, his disciples were those who ate with him. That was not everyone who ate with him was a disciple, but his disciples, the ones who were his disciples, they did eat with him. I think that's significant. So that it's not this weird exotic thing. Eating is about as mundane. Paul says whether you eat or drink or, whatever you do, very everyday kind of thing.
And I think that the power of discipleship, I think one of the words that sometimes you hear in Christian circles that probably comes close to what discipleship starts to look like is accountability. If you have someone in your life that you can truly share everything that's going on in your life and trust that they will give you smart, wise, godly advice, that's someone that you're probably pretty close to having a discipleship relationship, even if you don't realize it. But accountability of its own is not the same. It's a big piece of it. And so the frequency that you meet with someone is important. If you say, we'll meet every other week, you're going to meet once a month and you're just going to catch up. If you meet every week with one person at a set time, eventually you're not going to ask just mundane stuff. You're going to get past the sort of what happened this week, this, that, how's the family, how's work, how's this, how's that. You're going to start saying, you really be able to ask the question, what's God been saying to you this week? Nothing. Or I've been struggling with this, or I want to bring up this verse. And so, so I think that the biggest challenge we have in today's world, two challenges. One is time. the willingness to spend time with people. And that's why when I was preparing for this, I was thinking, man, if you're a boss, you got 40 hours of someone's time. You can tell them what to do, I mean, obviously within reason, I'm sure. But you have an advantage there. And I think you got to be careful about it too. If discipleship should not be something you're thrusting on someone else. But you have that opportunity to start carving maybe bits of the way you run your business to say, okay, we're going to have, say there's 5 people in the business, we're going to have a shared lunch. They know I'm a Christian. I don't know if everyone in their businesses is always Christians or not. They know I am. And if I share my life and start sharing my stories, it's amazing how other people start to share their life. And they'll start to bring up, yeah, I used to go to church, but I don't like now, this and that. And boom, you have an opportunity to start talking. But that's a little different than you taking the time with someone saying, look, let's go on a discipleship journey together. What does that mean? I'll show you.